नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। आज हम एक ऐसे बांग्लादेशी मुक्ति योद्धा के बारे में बात करेंगे जिन्होंने 1971 में मूर्ति में कमीशन प्राप्त किए थे, who had also been in Dhaka during the commencement of Operation Searchlight by the Pakistani forces। अपने आंखों से उन्होंने पाकिस्तानी फौज का किया हुआ जेनोसाइड और मैसिव डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑन द बंगाली पॉपुलेशन एंड इन ईस्ट पाकिस्तान को देखे थे और अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस आज शेयर करेंगे। हाउ ही एस्केप फ्रॉम द सिटी ऑफ ढाका, केम ऑल द वे टू इंडिया, took training and received commission as a second lieutenant at Murtee near Jalpaiguri in West Bengal, being trained by the Indian Army and eventually joining the fighting against the Pakistani forces and fighting till the end of the war, who was a student of Dhaka University in 1971 और बाद में इसी यूनिवर्सिटी के वो प्रोफेसर भी बने थे। Let's welcome Lieutenant Shahriar Huda in our program today.
I was a student of Fozdahat Cadet College, which is in Chittagong. It's an English medium school. It used to be, at one point it used to be called the East Pakistan Cadet College. Okay. It was established in 1958, and the purpose was to provide, train the young boys, to feed them into the military academy, Air Force Academy, in the different services. Right. The school was established in 1958 and I joined in 1964. The intakes are taken in grade 7, class 7 up to intermediate level. So I was in East Pakistan Cadet College from 1964 to 1970 when I passed out my in Bangladesh it's called a higher secondary certificate. The matric is called SSC, Secondary School Certificate. The higher one is called Higher Secondary Certificate. Okay. By the way, in 1966, the school got renamed as Fozdahat Cadet College, named after the because three other cadet colleges came into being. One in Mirzapur in Mymensingh, one in Rajshahi, and one in Jessore, Jhunaida. In Jhunaida. Because so it couldn't any longer be called East Pakistan Cadet College. It was not the sole one. Right. So I don't know if you have any idea about places like Doon School in India.
Doon School, right?
There's a Doon School. So these cadet colleges were kind of imitations of Doon School. The only difference was that in these colleges it was not the parental wealth that mattered. It was the entrance was highly competitive, so most of the kids were from middle class background, middle class professional parental background, family background. Anyway, I was a good student, but I was more involved in sports. Okay, I was a house captain, I was a prefect and all that. In the meantime, while I was studying there, my father was a doctor. He moved to Libya with the rest of the. My mother was a teacher of Islamic history, MA in Islamic history. So my two younger brothers, we had three siblings at that time. They moved to Libya, but because I was at possibly the best school in Pakistan at that time, so they decided to keep me in Cadet College and left me behind. By 1970. To the end of 1970, my parents moved to London. My father started working in London and they wanted me to join them. And it takes a little while to arrange the visa and so on. So I was waiting for the visa to arrive and basically marking time. Okay. In the meantime, at one point I wanted to join Pakistan Army. Because most of my class friends from Cadet College were joining.
Bengalis were joining
so I also
Pakistani Army. Yeah.
Yes, but particularly towards 1969, 1970, largest number of Bengali boys went to PMA in 1970 in my batch. Okay. So I went through the entire procedure like medical test, interview, then written exam. I was waiting for the ISSB. At that time, I had a talk with my parents, and they said, don't go into the army. You're coming over to UK, so you better join Dhaka University. So I went to Dhaka University.
Okay.
I joined the Dhaka University in the Department of Economics, with economics honors, with subsidiary mathematics and statistics. By the way, in the 60s, Dhaka University's economics department and physics department were the most demanding ones. The best students in science to physics, the best students in art and to economics. But by our time, economics had become very mathematical. So a lot of science kids also went into economics. In my batch, at that time there were 4 boards of education in Bangladesh: Dhaka, Tripura, Comilla, Rajshahi, and Khulna. Jasur board. So, Chatta board, from these 4 boards, there would be 20 students with positions in the list of merit. Top 20 students in science, top 20 in humanities, they would be declared, and in newspapers would print their names and everything. So, in the economics department, because it was so competitive, we had at least 80 students who had stood in at least one of those SSC or HSC, stood among the first 20s.
Okay.
I was in such a competitive environment over there. In the meantime, in Bangladesh, political situation was getting rougher and rougher each day, because Sheikh Mujib and Awami League had won the election, but they were not being given the authority to govern, because the parliament was not being called. And we are all very anxious, very agitated. I was in the university, and university classes were not being held properly. Every day there would be procession, political processions to also go over there. I personally, being from a cadet college, I was not so much enthusiastic about these processions. More used to disciplined life, like cadets. That's what they are supposed to be.
Right.
But we were conscious about what's going on, and by the beginning of March 71, it hit us that the military regime is not going to hand over power to the elected body in the parliament. In fact, parliament was not being called. The beginning of the parliamentary session was being postponed, and by the time we could see that lots of troops and armaments from West Pakistan were being transferred to East Pakistan, which was a sign that they are going to possibly crack down on the movement, popular movement, and do something very nasty. I don't know why our politicians failed to understand that. It was very apparent.
As far as I heard, in PIA flights, Pakistani soldiers were arriving from West Pakistan to Dhaka in civilian clothing.
Yes. In civilian clothes and without the arms, because civil airplanes were not allowed to carry arms.
Right.
So soldiers would be coming in civil dress. They'd be arriving, and their arms were coming by ship.
Right.
For example, a battalion is being transferred to East Pakistan, and soldiers are coming without the arms. Arms are coming by ship, and this was going on for quite some time, and it hasn't. The pace picked up in, I would say, February, March particularly, when I think these military junta people decided that they were going for a crackdown. They had already decided, but they were trying to fool the politicians, particularly the politicians from East Pakistan. They're dangling the carrot of, they're going to have the parliament and so on. But it wasn't going to happen. It happened to anybody who had brains. Then there was this 3rd March, something happened. On 7th March, there was a huge political gathering, and the rest is the just in front of the Dhaka University and Bangla Academy. If you have been to Dhaka, you probably know.
You had been there,
There's a
sir,
huge.
at the race course during the speech.
Yes, I was there,
Oh, wow.
along with some of my friends. I was there at that race course, and that historical speech I listened to, and it was unique. I have never heard such a political, speech, and it was uh, virtually, I think, Bangabandhu had made the declaration on that day without actually saying the words.
Right.
It was clear that something was going to happen and we would have to fight. So we came back, some of my friends who attended the meeting, we came back and we felt that, this is something is going to happen and we should start preparing.
Right.
Then came the 25th of March. I used to live in Old Dhaka,
Old
a
Dhaka.
place called Shah street name. The main road, at one time it was called Madan Mohan Boshak Road. Nowadays it's called Tipu Sultan Road. It's adjacent to Wari. It's part of Old Town.
Okay.
But the streets, there were streets which are very narrow and through which you could walk all over the old city. You could, for example, if I could walk through those back street, go up to Gulistan, which was the city center
Now
in
the
those
streets
days.
are very narrow in Old Dhaka. I've been
Yes,
there.
they are very narrow.
Very narrow.
There are streets where even rickshaws cannot get in.
Yeah.
Not even a single rickshaw can get in.
Yeah.
So I used to live there. The address was 232 Lalbon Shah Street. It was unique because it was the corner plot. The very first house as you enter into that street, very first house on the left, it had two coconut trees. Those were which could be seen from a distance. And from the roof of in those days, the buildings were mostly 1 or 2 stories. So from the rooftop, you could see quite a long distance and see what's happening all around the house, all around the neighborhood. In fact, one of the earliest memories that I have was, I think there was a riot in 1962. Yes, most probably 1962. There was some riots in Bihar, and there were a lot of Biharis living in Dhaka in those days.
These were communal riots, sir.
Communal riots, that's what I'm talking about. There were some riots in Bihar, and these people in Dhaka, they reciprocated. They started attacking Hindu houses.
Okay.
And house we lived in, basically it was originally a Hindu neighborhood. The house we lived in was bought from one of the owners who were migrating to India
Okay.
long time back, early 50s, 51 most probably 1951. So I had Hindu neighbors, all of them. And I remember at night, my parents, and we had interconnecting doors, houses, but at one time it was one house, one huge building. Now it's divided into many components, different shariks living in different areas. But there were interconnecting doors. So between our house and the Hindu neighbors, we had the interconnecting doors. On one side and other side, there was a Bombaya business family, Gujarati business family, Muslims.
Okay.
So all three houses had interconnecting doors. Okay. So when this communal riot was going on, our Hindu neighbors used to come over and sleep at our home, because at night it was not secure for them to stay in their own house. Exactly opposite. Something similar used to happen prior to March 25. There was some communal violence, but this was not against the Hindu community. It was against the non-Bengalis. Non-Bengalis were being attacked because people got very agitated. So prior to 25th March, sometimes some of my neighbors from they were most probably Bora.
Okay.
There's a community of Gujarati Muslims there. They're called Boras. So our neighbors were Bora Muslims.
Okay. Okay.
They used to come over and sleep at our home for
Okay.
protection. So I had this experience both ways. At one point, it was the Hindu community being attacked. At one point, the Muhajirs being attacked, and they're both all coming over and staying with us. Those are my early childhood memories. 1962 and 1970, 71. Then came 25th March. As I mentioned, I was a student of Dhaka University, and back then I knew old Dhaka city very well. So I knew all the side streets, main roads, and so on. So I was up on the roof observing what is going on.
Okay.
Somehow we got the information that something is going to happen on 25th night. So my guardians told me not to. Normally I would go out in the evenings, go and visit my friends, other neighborhoods, or go to Dhaka University to meet some friends who were staying in the halls. But that day I was told by my guardians not to venture out, that they expected something to happen. But we never received any political instruction. I don't know why the politicians could not guess that something was happening. And it did happen. Just at 12 o'clock, we started hearing shots being fired, artillery shells being fired, and there was fighting all over the city. Particularly, military troops started. We
Dhaka
heard
University, yeah. A massacre happened there.
attacked, particularly one hall. In those days, it was called Iqbal Hall.
Iqbal
Now I think it's called
and Jagannath Hall.
and Jagannath Hall, because it was mainly for the Hindu students. So Jagannath Hall was attacked. Iqbal Hall was attacked because a lot of the Chhatra League, student front of Awami League, their leaders and cadres used to live in
Iqbal Hall.
that hall. Some of my friends lived there. These two halls particularly were badly attacked, and also there was a vicious attack on the Rajarbagh police station, police line,
Right.
which was the main residential area for the police. All the police constables used to live there, most of them. So that was the police line that was attacked, and police fought back very bravely. So the whole night. Then there's a place called Pilkhana.
Pilkhana.
Pilkhana is the base for headquarters for the BGB, Bangladesh border guards of Bangladesh. In those days, it was called East Pakistan Rifles,
Pakistan Rifles.
EPR.
EPR.
And after liberation, it was called I think BDR, Bangladesh Rifles. After 71, it became BDR. Yeah. Now it's called BGB.
I think General Chittaranjan Datta was the Director General of the BGB. Oh, sorry, BDR. BDR.
He was not. He may have been for a short while, because General C.R. Datta was C.R. Datta. He was actually a retired officer in 71.
Okay.
As far as I remember, he was already retired.
Okay.
So he was, because of his contribution to the liberation war, he was given promotion and so on. Like General Osmani. General Osmani was a retired colonel from Pakistan Army.
Right.
But he also got the rank of general and so on. So probably C.R. Datta may have headed, I'm not sure, may have headed BDR for a short time, because these institutions are usually headed by serving officers. So I'm not 100% sure. Okay, but he may have, because at the end of the war he was a general. He was given the rank of major. So he may have taken over BDR.
Right.
So the Pilkhana headquarters of BDR, EPR at that time, was attacked completely, because EPR people had some heavy arms, like machine guns, light machine guns, heavy machine guns, maybe 2-inch mortars also. So they could fight back. That's why they were attacked very, with all the strength of Pakistan army. So you have the Pilkhana, Rajarghat police line, and the two halls of Dhaka University. These were the four places badly attacked. Otherwise, the troops also started attacking haphazardly, at random. For example, in front of Pakistan, they are just shooting at people who are, ordinary people, rickshawalas or rickshaw pullers, not taxi drivers sleeping in their vehicles. A lot of these people are homeless, so they sleep. Rickshaw might be sleeping on his rickshaw, or a cart puller sleeping in his cart.
Right.
So a lot of very innocent people, bystanders, were killed, and they set fire to a lot of the shops. There's a main road called Nawapur Road, which connects with the Sadar Ghat, the port next to the port for Buriganga River. So the road going from Gulistan to Sadar Ghat used to be called Nawapur Road. That was the main road of Dhaka in those days. So the army trucks, army troops moved along that road, and on the way they just put fire to all the shops. All the shops that they felt, could be looted and so on. They just at random set fire, also looted some of those, and killed people as they went on. This thing started around 12 o'clock, 25th March, 12 o'clock. So once this firing and setting arson and all this started, I went up to the roof of my house and watched as far as I could see. Then I called over one of my friends, my neighbors. His name was, used to call him Somendranath Bonik. He was one of my neighbors. সোমাকে ডেকে এনে বললাম যে চল আমরা দুজনে একটু দেখি কি হচ্ছে। So we went through, as I said, that old Dhaka has a lot of narrow streets. So I could avoid the army patrols and still go up to Nawapur Road, still go up to near Gulistan and see what was happening. It was horrible. I had never seen anything like that in my life. The next morning, again, we went out and tried to, as far as we could go, without being detected by army patrols. By this time, the whole city was terrified. So nobody was venturing outside. Army patrols were there on all the major roads. And I ventured out with my friend only as far as I could go without being detected. Then I think by this time, curfew was declared on 25th March. The curfew was relaxed on 27th.
27th, okay.
On 27th. On 27th, I did go up to the university, but did not go inside the campus, just from the peripheral streets or roads. I watched as much as I could. Came back, and then we heard on the radio, which was being retransmitted every now and then. I think the first transmission was on 27th. Major Ziaur Rahman made a declaration of independence from Kalurghat in Chittagong. Kalurghat was the broadcasting. I think they had the broadcasting center for Chittagong radio.
Right.
So we heard that. And that gave us some inspiration that there's some fighting back going on.
Okay.
After that, Pakistan Army more or less.
Kalurghat radio station, right, sir?
Kalurghat radio station.
Okay.
That's right. By this time, after 27, when the curfew was being relaxed every few hours of a day, people started leaving Dhaka. People were so scared that they were just streaming out of Dhaka, especially people who who were from villages nearby or districts nearby, they just left Dhaka at the very first opportunity. The
Okay.
people were streaming out across the river, across, by roads, by buses, by trains, whatever they could. Uh, but we stayed on. We had reasonably good connection, so we didn't feel threatened family-wise. So we stayed on. And after a few days, the military government wanted things to become normal. They thought they had the situation under control. So the curfew was gradually relaxed. In the meantime, I started meeting some of my friends from cadet college background, and we started having regular meeting, trying to decide what to do. And we came we came to the conclusion that we started listening to this radio broadcast from Shadin Bangla, which was being set up in Kolkata. Also, regularly listening to BBC, Akashbani, and we decided that we must join the Liberation War. And being from cadet college, we had a few senior cadets already in the army, in the East Bengal regiment. They were officers in the East Bengal regiment commissioned in Pakistan. So we decided that we must go to an area where we'll find one of those officers. So it will be easier for us to integrate and join the Liberation War.
Okay.
We attempted to go out of Dhaka, but you see, we boys were mostly city boys. We had no idea which side. We didn't know how to go out and how to reach the border areas. So we were looking for a guide. Our first attempt was in April, but we failed. We couldn't go. But actually, on 6th of April, my youngest uncle, Chobu Kaka, we used to live in a joint family. Okay? He was a well-known actor, singer. So he and some of his friends left for Kolkata, leaving his car behind in Arichaghat. Later we heard that the car was left there, abandoned. They managed to go to Kolkata. Then, around middle of April, my youngest brother, he was in Dhaka at that time. He was a grade 10 student, St. Gregory's School.
Okay.
He left family in the middle of the night without informing anybody. He went for liberation. So when I was planning to go, you see, my parents were not in Dhaka. We had a joint family. My aunt was there, my cousin sisters, elder sisters, they were there. So I told them that I was going for liberation war. So they did not discourage me. They said, go ahead. They gave me some money, pocket money to survive. But made me promise,
Right.
to fight the war. My cousin sisters were teaching at some Dhaka colleges. There's a college, Siddheshwari College. So one of them was teaching there, another one at Holy.
I had one question, sir. I heard that a lot of Dhaka University professors were also killed during Searchlight. Were any of your teachers or professors hurt or killed during that time, just during Searchlight?
During Searchlight, the first crackdown, yes.
Yeah.
None of my teachers, no. I was in the economics department. I don't think anybody from the economics department was killed on that day. People like G.C. Dev, then
Bobindra Chandra Dey, I guess. Yeah.
yes, quite a few teachers were killed initially on the very first night, in fact, on 25th. And some teachers from Dhaka Medical College were killed. But actual killing of intellectuals happened later on, towards the end of the liberation.
14th December.
Yes, that was the most. That was the real black day for us. Anyway, as I was saying, by April, my friends and I attempted once, but we failed. Then again, we started waiting for right opportunity, waiting for a good guide to take us across the border, across the countryside to the border area. And we did not find one until third week of May,
Okay.
almost 2 months after the liberation war started. Uh, Initially, we were supposed to be 5 boys from our class in the cadet college, but at the last moment, one of them dropped out. So four of us. I have two friends, twins, Sayyid Mizanur Rahman, Sayyid Munibur Rahman, and another friend, Didar Akbar Hussain. They all retired as majors in the army later on. Didar is a successful entrepreneur, businessman, industrialist. So we four, along with a guide, an old Dhaka boy, Muhammad Ali, he had already been to the freedom fighters camp in the border once or twice, so he knew the way. And this guy couldn't speak proper Bengali. He had Dhakaiya Kupti. Dhakayas have a dialect,
Right.
so he only could speak that.
I think it is very common even with people from Chittagong that they
Yeah.
can't speak
Chittagong,
Bengali.
Sylhet and Noakhali, they cannot, normal Kotho Bangla যেটা আমরা বলি, the usual Bengali, they cannot, they have difficulty saying it. Even educated people have noticed. They have very heavy accent. So we started on 23rd May.
Okay.
The five of us. We started from Dhaka. We took baby taxis or auto rickshaws from our home to New Market, the rendezvous, and there we took another baby taxi, the auto rickshaw, and we started moving towards Comilla by road in the auto rickshaw. So in those days there were no bridges over the major rivers like Shitalakha. There were no bridge. Henna, there was no bridge. So we had to take ferries. So we crossed the Meghna, and on the way to Comilla, there's a place called Chandina Bazaar.
Okay. Nazira Bazaar.
Chandina
Bazaar.
Bazaar.
Okay.
So we stopped there for lunch. Okay. We got down from our auto rickshaw, we started having our lunch, and then people running away from the bazaar. It's a crowded bazaar, everybody shouting that payas are coming.
Okay.
Payas was the word for Punjabis, police soldiers.
Yeah.
So, villagers, they were shouting and running away. Then we are in the middle of having our meals. So we finished our meals, and we didn't actually finish our meals. We left halfway. We also got up, got scared. We said we must run away. So we took two rickshaws and got down from the highway towards the village, just in the general direction of eastern direction, which would take us towards the border. But it was still maybe 20 miles or 25 miles or 30 miles from the border. So we started going in the rickshaw. Then we saw at a distance an army patrol coming, and we saw the petrol van, a truck, one of those maybe 1-tonner or 3-tonner trucks, getting down into the village road towards us, chasing us. So we got down from our rickshaws and we started running across the field, and we got away somehow. By the time we stopped, so that was the first close encounter. Prior to that, in Dhaka city, we were stopped at I was stopped personally at several checkpoints. My friends have, we all have different experiences. I think some of us have narrated those experiences in that book. I had an experience, maybe I should tell you now. I had a friend in Pakistan Army. He was a captain, a Punjabi. He was very friendly with me and some of my friends from Dhaka. He was posted in an anti-aircraft regiment, which
In
was
Dhaka.
in Dhaka.
Okay.
It's called ACAC regiment, anti-aircraft regiment.
43 ACAC Light and Anti-Aircraft Regiment was in Dhaka.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact unit, but it was an ACAC regiment, and I remember his name. I think he was Captain Aftab.
Okay.
Maybe not much older than us, 3 or 4 years older than us.
Okay.
So he was possibly recently commissioned, and years of service he had just become captain, and he was posted there. So what I used to do is I used to drink in those days. I still do occasionally. So this guy used to offer us drinks. Being an army officer, he had access to alcoholic drinks. So he would invite us, and some of my friends and I would go over, spend the evening with him, have some drinks, come back. He was very nice. But one day, while we were drinking, I noticed that his sepoys were giving physical punishment to some boys in the garden. It was in the old airport
Old airport. Okay.
in Tejgaon. And I noticed after a while, the Subedar came and reported to the Aftab that Sab, ye log Dhaka University ka student hai. Then he said that give them some more ragra and then give them some more punishment and then let them. And that made me think that this guy is giving punishment to Dhaka University students. I'm also a Dhaka University student. And just because I'm his friend, I'm privileged to be his, sipping drinks with him. We are having fun. But in reality, he he's not, he's like a ruler, and I'm one of the oppressed, being ruled, subject, and that really upset me. And on that day when I went home, I became 100% sure that there is no future for Pakistan, and there is no future for Bengalis in Pakistan. So that was one of the incidents, and many of my friends have similar incidents that made them decide that other otherwise, for a guy like me with middle class family, professional family background, having studied in a regimental school, one of the elite schools of Pakistan, why should I become politically motivated and join the liberation war? It was small incidents like this that made us alienated from the system, alienated from the state of Pakistan. Also on 25th March onwards, the massacres that we saw, that also made us realize that Molis don't have any future in Pakistan. We must separate. We must be, we must get rid of the military. Military. Anyway, on 23rd March, those friends of mine, 3 other friends and myself, along with the guide, we passed through Chandina. Then by the time it became dark, we still kept on walking through this village, demarcating the different land plots. There is something called I. In Bengali, they call it. So those patches, we walked through those at night, and it was very difficult. But by this time, because it was already May, the liberation war started on 25th March, things were better organized in the villages. People who were pro-independence, volunteers from Army League, Chapter League, in the villages they had organized. So that wherever we went, we found people to guide us. In the middle of the night, people were telling us which way to go, and sometimes people were also feeding us. So throughout the night, we walked maybe 25, 30 miles. We walked towards the border. Then at the border, very close to the border, parallel to the border, there is this CNB road connecting Comilla uh, with Sylhet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also parallel to the road there's the railway line. So these were already under occupation by Pakistan Army. Pakistan Army had set up heavy machine guns and light machine guns at various points on the line, for example. And every now and then they'd fire across, without any noticeable target. They'd fire at random to make sure that nobody is crossing this or nobody is infiltrating into East Pakistan at that time
Okay.
or going towards. So these random firing killed a lot of people, especially lot of people were, mig- were a lot of refugees were away from into India, and they would have to cross these rail lines or these roads. And at night there would be rapid random fire. A lot of people died. So we also went through that. Somehow we are young people, so we just ran across, across the rail line, across the road. We didn't stop until we felt safe. By the time, very early hours of 24, around maybe 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, we reached a place called Hatibanda, most probably, a village. It's on Indian side.
Could you
This
say the name of the village, sir, again?
Hatimara or Hatibanda.
Hashima.
It's in Tripura.
Okay, okay,
It's in Tripura.
okay.
So we reached there, and we reached one house, and the house owner was kind enough to let us sleep in his cow shed. So we slept there in the cow shed. They had straws over which they put some rough cloth,
Right.
chalk, and we slept on that. Somehow, because we were so tired, we just didn't feel any difference. We slept. Next morning, when we woke up, we were approached by an NCO from EPR.
EPR. Okay.
EPR. Apparently, he had set up a camp there, training camp for boys, Mukti Bahini boys. So he asked us to join him. We went and saw the facilities he had. Unfortunately, it was not for us. We wanted real armed training.
Okay.
So we politely refused, and we started going towards. There's a place called Sonamuda. Sonamuda is a Sonamuda. I think it's on the Indian side. It's
Very close to the border.
very close to the border, and I think it's a subdivision headquarters,
Right, right.
Sonamuda. So we went to Sonamuda. We took a bus, or those tuk-tukis, auto rickshaws. We reached there. We wanted to reach the nearest well-organized Mukti Bahini camp, which was actually in a place called Moti Nagar.
Murtee Nagar.
Moti Nagar. Moti Nagar was also the headquarters of our number 2 sector in those days.
Right, right.
We wanted to reach there, but first we went to Sonamuda. We found our political leaders there. There was an MP, member of the parliament. We woke him up early in the morning, and he was very unhappy. And he saw these 4 smartly dressed kids with caps, with trainers, jeans, and he didn't like us at all. He wanted to have us arrested as Pakistani spies. and he called the BSF. The
Okay.
BSF would come and arrest us. In the meantime, one other political leader there realized the situation. He took us aside and said, "Okay, don't make any hassle here with this guy. He will leave." In the meantime, there was the Bengal Regiment officer, Pakistan Army officer, Bengal Regiment. Later, he became very famous as a fighter. At that time, he was a captain, Captain Gaffar.
Captain Ghaffar. Okay. He became
Captain.
Lieutenant Colonel, I guess, later on.
He was also a minister at one time.
Okay.
Lieutenant Colonel, yes. Lieutenant.
He received
At
the
that time, he was
from, I
captain.
guess.
Yes, yes.
Fort Bengal. Fort is Bengal.
So he commanded 4 East Bengal. Later on, when the original 4 East Bengal was split up into 3 battalions with new recruits.
I've heard of
So
it.
he received the command of 4 Bengal. So we saw his vehicle. I mean, I think he was going from one camp to another subsector or someplace, and he saw that there was a crowd, hassle going on, a BSF vehicle. So he came in to inquire what's going on, and when he saw that this guy, and he was, I think, in a Pakistan Army vehicle. So that made us realize that this is possibly a Bengal regiment officer. So we immediately approached him. He heard our story and said, he stopped the BSF people, said, leave them alone. He picked us up in his jeep and drove us straight to the camp that we wanted to go to, Motinagar. And that was our joining the
Mukti Bahini.
Mukti Bahini. We saw a Bengal regiment officer coming over in a Pakistan Army type jeep,
Okay.
and we found out that it was Division Captain Gaffar.
Ghaffar.
Later on,
Okay.
Gaffar. And later on, he became a lieutenant colonel and also became
He's
a minister in
I guess.
yes, yes.
Okay.
He also became a minister in General Ershad's cabinet later. But at that time, he was a captain, and he rescued us from the BSF. And after learning that we are from Fozat Cadet College and we wanted to join the Liberation War, he said, "Hop into my jeep, and I'll take you to the camp."
Okay.
So he brought us over to the main Mukti Jodha camp in Mukti Bahini camp in the number 2 sector, which was in Motinagar, a place called Motinagar. Very happy to see that a lot of our old friends from Dhaka were already there and met some of the officers. That was the headquarters of number 2 sector, both for the regular army and also ordinary freedom fighters. Khalid Musharraf, at that time a Major Khalid Musharraf was in charge.
Okay.
He was being assisted by then Captain Haidar, who was in charge of the guerrilla training, and the brigade major was Major Mateen. Major Mateen later.
Seen and met these officers, I guess.
Yes. At that time, we had our first interview with them. They checked us through, and Major Mateen later on retired as a brigadier. He was the chief of Bangladesh Fire Brigade later. And so we started our training. We were placed in a company called Ajiz Company. It was named after the then VP of Dhaka College. Dhaka College was a major college in Dhaka,
Right.
and Students' Union's Vice President, VP Ajiz had joined the Mukti Bahini. So this company was named after him, and all the Dhaka boys, city boys, were put into that company. And me and my friends, the 3 friends, we were placed in a platoon called Maya's platoon. Maya was Muzaffar Hussain Maya. Muzaffar Hussain. Yeah. He was a minister before. He's also a minister in current cabinet. The Maya is from my neighborhood in Old Dhaka. We knew him. He was 3 years senior to us in academic time. So we were placed in his platoon. By the way, later on that platoon became known as the crack platoon in Dhaka
Crack platoon, right?
because
Okay.
yes, it carried out a lot of the sabotage activities, major activities that shook the Pakistan army. Also brought to attention the international attention, showing that things were not normal in Bangladesh, East Pakistan, as Pakistan had claimed.
Right.
We started our training, and the usual, very hard training, very poor food. We are being given, extremely poor quality food, and we are not used to it. Also, this Motinagar camp was very close to the border, maybe just 2-3 kilometers away from the border.
Okay.
So every now and then, the Pakistan Army's artillery units in that Comilla region, they would try to shell the camp. So it was not very safe. So after a while, the higher authorities decided that the camp must be shifted further inwards.
Okay.
So just a week after we joined, the camp was shifted. We all moved in the middle of the night to a place called Melagor.
Melagor. Okay.
Became the famous Mukti Bahini Center. So it was further inwards, further inside into Tripura, and we moved there after a week, and we started our training in full earnest. By the way, just on the evening we were moving, my youngest brother was 15 at that time, and his friends turned up in Motinagar, and I was shocked as well as very happy to see them. So I told them, hang around with us. What are you doing? Well, they said that they were so fed up, they were so distressed that they wanted to go back to Dhaka. They couldn't take the tough life of being without proper food, without comfort of home, all middle class boys. But I told them that hang around with us. We have money, we will help you out. I get them some money that I had with me so that they don't suffer from lack of proper food. If they can't take the camp food, they can go outside. There were restaurants outside, etc. The bazaar was there, so they could go and eat there. What happened is that throughout the night, we moved to the other camp we worked. Next morning, when I looked for them, I couldn't find them.
Okay.
And that was the end of it. They just disappeared without telling me.
Okay.
So until after the war, I didn't know whether they were alive or dead. But after the war, I found that they're all right. They all reached Dhaka and just kept low until they didn't want to get back to liberation. Okay. In the meantime, our training started very, strongly with full force. And then in the middle of June, we heard that they're going to recruit officer cadets for the army, the regular force. Actually, General Mani and General Rob, at that time they're full colonels, retired full colonels from Pakistan.
Right.
No, they're full colonels.
Lieutenant. No.
Then
Okay.
is a full.
General Rob.
Yes,
He became Major
they're both
General,
full
I guess.
Major General. Yes,
Right.
Major Generals we address them as generals.
And I think he also received the Viruttam.
Yes. He was in charge of the Eastern Sector, Eastern Command.
Okay.
See, General Osmani was in the headquarters in Calcutta, and General Rob was in charge of the Eastern.
Okay.
He was based in Agra. It so happened that I had an aunt, my father's elder sister, who was married to a man from Sylhet, who died in 1947.
Okay.
So her husband happened to be a cousin of General Osmani. So he knew my family. So he came on a visit. Rob also came to Alagod, and I saw him. I went up to inquire about my aunt. I'm from North Bengal, Bogra, original home district. So my aunt was based there, and since General Osmani would go around all the sectors all around Bangladesh, he had information about them. So I asked him, and he said that everything is all right. They're not in Bogra city, town anymore. They're hiding in their village.
Okay.
So, but they're safe. Then he asked me, he remembered that I was in Fozat Cadet College, he knew my dad. So he said, you and your friends here, you have the right background. You must join the army. You join the army, you don't have to fight as uh, guerrillas, you become regular soldiers. You have to join the army. So he literally forced us,
Okay.
and we decided, okay, we'll join the army. You see, in the meantime, our pocket money, the money that I had taken from my cousin sisters, my friends had taken theirs from their family members, we were running out of cash. So we also had difficulty uh, with the quality of food we were getting. So we thought, if we join the army, we'll get some pocket money. You know, they will give us something like 100 Indian rupees a month while we are training. We thought, well, with that money, we can improve our diets, if nothing else. Let's join the army, and once we are commissioned, we'll also be given 400 rupees a month, you know, salary. So would be at least will be more comfortable, and we can also fight more effectively than as guerrillas. But we made a pact that if we join, all four of us will join. Remember, I was one of the four. Otherwise, none of us will go into that. We'll continue being guerrillas. Fortunately, you know, because of cadet college background or otherwise, also we were quite fit. We were all four of us were about to join Pakistan Army. Just,
Okay.
just the last moment we decided we will do so. So we were selected, and last week of June, transport arrangements were made to move us to the training camp. From Malaghar, I think we had about 15 or 16 boys of different age. We were the youngest. We had just passed higher secondary in 1970, so we were the youngest. And you know, for officers training, you need to be at least intermediate class.
Okay.
There were other people who were battle hardened. You know, some were already soldiers, NCOs or JCOs, and there were other students, battle hardened students. If you remember, you see, Major Zia had declared independence in Chittagong,
Right.
and on the Chittagong student activities, they had joined him, his battalion. It was the 8th Bengal Regiment. So all those boys were already battle hardened because when they fell back towards Indian border after giving fights. In the same way, the 2nd Bengal Regiment and 4th Bengal Regiments, they kept on giving fights against the Pakistan Army while falling back gradually towards the border. And all the way, many students had joined them in the fight, students and other things. So while selecting these officer cadets for the army, there were several boys selected from these battle hardened groups,
Okay.
as well as those of us who had already kind of background in military type schools. The Pakistan also had Air Force schools in West Pakistan. There's a place called Sargoda, which was well known. There's a
Sargodha.
school called Lot,
Right.
West Pakistan.
West
So
Pakistan.
we had some boys who had background in those schools, just like we had background in Cadet College, in the East Pakistan. So about 15 or 16 of us had that kind of background, and then altogether we were 61 boys. The others were more usually older than us, 3, 4, 5 years older. Some were student leaders. There's one person who retired as a general later on, Nurul Nabi. He was the goalkeeper of Pakistan national football team. So he was
Major
6, 7
General
years.
Murtee, I guess.
Nurul Nabi.
Right.
Yes, Major General Nurul Nabi. He used to play for the Mohammedan team and also played for the national team. So there were people like them also, very enthusiastic to fight against Pakistan Army, but they were senior to us. Some were 7, 8, 9 years senior to us. Anyway, all of us were united in our purpose. So from Malaghar, it took us, we were taken by road in BSF trucks. In those days, the road connection was not very good. The border roads were not very good. It was pretty rough ride. We were taken to a place called in Assam in those days, just across the border, Dharmanagar, where the railway ended there. From there, you see, Agartala didn't have any railway line at that time. So from Dharmanagar, we had to take the railway line to go to Guwahati. Guwahati. So we did that. We stayed overnight in Guwahati, saw a movie or something like that. We were all staying in the station. Then again, military buses, military trucks came to pick us up, and we were taken to a place in Jalpaiguri district. The place was named Murtee. It was just at the base of the mountains, I would say. It was surrounded by tea gardens and forests. So, and also Mukti had a very fast running small river where we used to take baths. Very strong currents, very cold water coming just down from the mountains. On a clear day, we could see all the top mounts like Everest or Kanchenjunga and so on. It was pretty cold there. We started our training. That was beginning of July, and there was
when
a
you
huge.
started your training, sir, you were already given, you were already a GC, or like you were given any rank?
No, GC.
GC.
We are all gentlemen cadets. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get a rank until you are commissioned.
Right.
So we started as gentlemen cadets.
And you get commissioned as a second lieutenant, right, sir?
Commissioned as a second lieutenant.
Okay.
So we started our training. It was, I think, some of the best instructors from Indian Army were there. There was also a Bengali officer who came to visit me in Canada a couple of years ago. He was visiting Canada, so he dropped into my place also. Captain Stanapati. He retired. Stanapati. He retired as Lieutenant Colonel later. There was a Colonel Thappa who was the chief instructor. He was a Gapal, I think. Colonel Thappa. He probably retired as a brigadier, most probably. I don't know. I was not in touch with any of them after training. Only after war. Only Captain Stanapati stayed in touch with us, and because he is a Bengali, we naturally had special affection for him. There were 5 instructors, all with the rank of major. There was 1 lieutenant colonel, 1 colonel, and I think there was a brigadier in charge of the entire base. The part of the base was for officers training, secluded from the other part, where General Mukti Bahini recruits were also being trained for that particular sector, West Bengal site.
Okay.
West Bengal and North Bengal site. So, but we were not allowed to mix. Only on a rare occasion, I think, I got to see some people from the ordinary camp. Our training was very rigorous. So normally, the military part of the training, as well as the academic part. You see, in the academy, the syllabus is divided into 2 parts. Some dealing with military subjects, some with non-military subjects. So by the time DC passes out, he also gets a bachelor's degree.
Okay. Right.
That
is what happens.
Yeah, gets a bachelor's degree. For that, non-military subjects are also taught. But in our case, we didn't have that because it was going to be very extensive and short. So it was extensive. It was 14 weeks.
14 weeks.
Just over 14 weeks.
Over 3 months.
So extensively military subjects and very busy. We had very little sleep. Throughout the day, starting from early morning, we would be working on the training all the time. So basically, our training was, we were taught to be platoon leaders, to command a platoon, and how to command a company if needed, not beyond that. And
Okay.
yeah, company. So basically, we're being taught to lead platoon level units in the battle. So we learned a lot of tactical subjects, a bit of strategy, but very little administration.
Okay.
I must. It's in the military academy. They also teach you administration,
Right. Right.
so that as soon as you join, you are able to administer, take up administrative duties. But in our case, we did not learn much about administration.
Okay.
And the military part of the training, of course, included battle innovation, live fires, everything that you do, movement under artillery shelling, movement under crossfire, live fire is going on, and you are crawling through trenches, all those things, everything that was needed. It was very tough. Fortunately, those of us who had this public school background or cadet college in
Right.
special school background, for us it was normal because we had already done most of it back in the schools. But for other students who never had any military experience as such, it was very tough for some of them.
Right.
Some of them would fall sick, some of them would report to the hospital. They
Do you
try
remember
to take it.
anybody from that course, like what I can say, who must have fallen sick or who must have been in trouble during the training? Anybody?
And not in serious trouble and not seriously ill, not seriously. But there were major, not major, minor cases. Uh, I don't remember anyone having any major illness.
Nothing major, right?
Nothing major.
And
Nothing.
how was your interaction with Sheikh Kamal, sir? You must have met him there.
Oh yes, Sheikh Kamal came as a cadet. He was our horsemate. In Dhaka University, he was a year senior to me. Sheikh Kamal is actually by age, he's a couple of years senior. But being the son of a politician and also being involved in student politics, he was.
Right.
So academically, he was just 1 year senior, but I think age-wise, maybe 2 or 3 years senior to us. But we became friends. We had a lot of sympathy for him because his father was in jail, was interned, taken to
Right.
Pakistan, and his family were interned. He didn't have any direct contact with them, so we had a lot of sympathy for him. And we became very good friends. I met him a couple of times after liberation, and he always met me with good will. So at the end of 14 weeks of training, we had a passing out parade as usual, as happens in the academy. But we didn't have all the, what I would say, big shosha that normally takes place in the academy, because we're in a mountain base and little things were not available for such a. But we are happy that we'd be commissioned and we'd be going back to the battlefields. All of us were happy, and we discovered just after the passing out, at the passing out parade, Sayyid Nazrul Islam, Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed,
They were
and General Osmani, they were present.
Okay.
So we received our passing out certificates from them, and also the local MP and other sectors, people from that North Bengal area, they had come. So we were quite happy with our arrangements. Just after the passing out parade, we found out our postings. We discovered that those of us with some sort of semi-military background were posted to regular army units. So all our cadet college boys were mostly posted to regular army units, Bengal regiments,
Okay.
and those who had already fought battles, student leaders and those people, they were posted to sector commands.
Okay.
Mukti Bahini, they are not Bengal regiment.
They're just
They were
Mukti Bahini.
they are just Mukti Bahini.
Okay.
So this is the entire Bangladesh was divided into several sectors, and each sector had several sub-sectors. So some of my students were posted as sub-sector commanders under various sectors,
Okay.
and they were to lead the sector troops, which consisted of sometimes some regular soldiers, but mostly Mukti Bahini volunteers.
Okay.
Irregular soldiers, irregular elements, or also the guerrillas. They would be leading guerrillas also. And some of us were posted in regular East Bengal regiment. You see, by this time, what had happened is that the Bangladesh government had decided to increase the size of the regular forces.
Okay.
It is starting from March onwards. The Mukti Bahinis, including the soldiers, regular army, were basically fighting defensive war.
Right.
They were fighting the Pakistan army, and because of the lack of heavy armament, they didn't have artillery, they didn't have air force, nothing. So they were being forced back towards the border. So once they crossed over the border and took shelter in Indian territories, the war became basically a guerrilla war, hit and run war. So
Right.
Mukti Bahini soldiers, in small groups, would enter Bangladesh, carry out an operation, and then hide in the villages. They would set up lots of village bases,
Right.
or into the camps in the Indian side. So this is what was going on for almost 3 months. By June, Pakistan army had more or less captured the entire territory of East Pakistan. Our Mukti Bahini had fallen beyond the borders. So June, July, August. These were the 3 months. Basically, we were just doing guerrilla war.
Okay.
All the big operations in Dhaka, for example, guerrilla operations, which were carried out by some of my friends, were during that period.
Because you were trained for crack platoon, you were meant to send to go to Dhaka, but
Exactly.
you got posted to Murtee.
Yeah, but my friends were going to Dhaka. Each of them had gone 3-4 times and carried out operations. So this was the period of guerrilla operations.
Right.
But the government decided that in order to win territory and hold territory, to liberate Bangladesh, we need to increase the size of the regular army. So that's when the decision was taken to recruit officers from the field, have them commissioned, and send them back. So also the regular number of units had to be increased. For example, there were say 4 East Bengal regiment, which was from Khaled Musharraf. So Khaled Musharraf was told there is a brigade with these 4 East Bengal as the core.
Right.
So 3 units were raised: 9 East Bengal, 10 East Bengal, and 4 Bengal. In the same way, the 2nd East Bengal regiment, which could fall back intact, was used as a brigade. That brigade was called S Brigade, then named after General Shafiullah.
Right.
Then Major Shafiullah, who was originally second in command, but took over the command during the Liberation War. And there was a 3rd brigade called Z Brigade. K Brigade was the Khaled's, the one I was in. And there was a Z Brigade, again with 8 Bengal as core.
Okay.
Bengal had fallen back intact, so it was used to raise S Brigade. The other two Bengal regiment units which were in East Pakistan at that time were badly hit because of their commanding officers. The senior-most Bengal regiment is the first Bengal regiment, which had fought very well in 1965 war as well against India. It served Lahore actually. It was posted in Lahore and it basically saved Lahore from being captured by India. So the first Bengal regiment was in Jessore. Its commanding officer was a guy called Lieutenant Colonel Jalil, Bengali, but he betrayed the soldiers. He betrayed us, and because of his betrayal, First Bengal was inside the cantonment when it was attacked by other units of Pakistan army that were posted in Jessore.
Right.
And it lost almost half its soldiers. Half its soldiers were killed. It managed to come out the 50% strength under the leadership of the then Captain Hafiz. Hafiz, and there was a Shahid Lieutenant Anwar. Again, Anwar close the heart. Lieutenant Anwar.
I guess. Anwar.
Yes. Anwar. Yes. Second Lieutenant Anwar. So Anwar assisted Captain Hafiz, and they managed to rescue about 50% of the soldiers. They came out. In the process, Anwar stayed back. I mean, he was the guy looking after the kind of rear guard. Well, the main troops coming out of the movement, he was guarding the rear, and he fell Shahid during that. So First Bengal was badly mauled. It was not an intact unit, and it could not be used to raise a brigade as such. In fact, it had to be supplemented with other soldiers to remain an unit.
Right.
By the time it could join the Liberation War. In the same way, there was a third Bengal regiment which was posted in Rangpur. You see, Pakistan Army had decided all these units were dispersed in various locations. They were not allowed to stay as an unit together.
Right.
Just before 20th March. This was their policy to weaken the units. And also was lack of communication between various companies of the unit and the headquarters of the unit.
Right.
So third Bengal also in Rangpur had a problem. Some companies were sent outside Rangpur for so-called internal security duty or martial law duty, but basically they were dispersed so that they could be scattered. The third Bengal again was picked into. It started fighting, and the officers were. It was commanded by Pakistani colonel.
That is a.
So once they got to,
I have noticed that the Bengal regiment units, the commanding officer was always somebody who was Pakistani. Bengali officers were replaced when Pakistanis came. Like, at least who were lieutenant colonels and commanded the units. Just before.
except one. No, except one.
Except one, right?
The second Bengal regiment, which was in Jodhpur in Dhaka, it was commanded by a Bengali officer. There was a Lieutenant Colonel Masood. And Major Shafiullah was his twice. In fact, in that unit, Zia was also the twice a year back.
Right.
Then Zia was posted to 8 Bengal in Chittagong, and Shafiullah became the twice of that unit, but it was commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Masood. The Lieutenant Colonel Masood was a nationalist. He didn't trust the Pakistan Army, his higher officers. So he prepared his soldiers, prepared his officers, motivated them to rebel actually. But unfortunately what happened is on 23rd March, if I remember the dates correctly, the brigade commander from Dhaka went to Jodhpur for an inspection.
Right.
The rebellion has not taken place at that time. So while coming back, he tricked. I think it was pre-calculated. He said, Masood, you come along with us to the headquarters, GHQ. We have some discussions to do. So he took Colonel Masood alone, and Colonel Masood was interned. He couldn't return back to his unit. But he was a nationalist. He had prepared the unit. He had briefed them, and Shafiullah was this twice to take up from there. Other officers.
Right.
At that time, Captain Nasim and various other officers were there. They all were already motivated to rebel. So second Bengal was the only one, and first Bengal had a Bengali officer, as I mentioned, Lieutenant Colonel Jalil, but he betrayed us. Lieutenant Colonel Jalil lost his job after the war. He betrayed. Because of him, we lost many soldiers. The first Bengal regiment, the pride of Bengal regiment, was really
badly mauled. Yeah.
Badly mauled. So let me come back to my sector. In number 2 sector, Khalid Musharraf raised this brigade, and he pushed 3 of the very young officers as commanding officers because there was nobody else. Captain Jafar Imam, with 45-6 years of service, was given the command of 10 Bengal. Captain Ghaffar was given the command of 4 Bengal, and Captain Ainuddin, again with maybe just 6 years of service, was given the command of 9 Bengal. So my friends and I were all posted to these Bengal regiment units. 3 of us came back to number 2 sector. I was posted in 9 East Bengal. My friend Mizan and Didar were posted in 10 Bengal, and Munib was posted in 2 Bengal, which was in a different sector. But otherwise, we 3 came back to our old sector. We came back and reported to Khalid Musharraf in Malagar. Then, after a day or 2, we were dispersed to our own units. I reported to Captain Ainuddin in 9 East Bengal Regiment. There was another officer with me, another coursemate, Lieutenant Aziz, Second Lieutenant Aziz, and myself. We were posted in 9 Bengal. When he joined 9 East Bengal, it was based in a place called Mantoli. The battalion headquarters was a place called Mantoli.
Okay.
And I went and reported there, Aziz and I. Let me remember. Yes, Mantoli was the name of the place. And 9 East Bengal was basically it. If you know the geography of that area, on the Bangladeshi side, there is a place called Kasba. It's a railway station.
Kasba. Right.
Kasba railway station. It's very close. South of Akhauda. Right. Yes, you are right.
Kasba, Mondobag,
it's on
that place, right?
Mondobag is further south.
Okay.
Mondobag is the area, is the place where 10 Bengal was operating.
Okay.
9 Bengal was operating in Kasba. Yeah. And 4 Bengal was further south. So I went and reported there. The battalion headquarters was maybe 2-3 miles inside India. But by the time, my battalion was raised on 17th October, official raising day, and I joined the unit on 20th October. We were commissioned on 9th October. So by the time we traveled, went through Malagar and all that, so by the time we joined, it was 20th October. By the time I joined, the Kasba railway station was already liberated by my unit. And
I think through that railway station, Chittagong and Sylhet were connected, I guess.
Chittagong and Sylhet, Chittagong and Dhaka.
Okay.
You see, from Kasba, you have to go up to Brahmanbaria, from Akhura, Brahmanbaria, and then you go towards Dhaka. And if you go north, you are going towards Sylhet. So both Sylhet and Dhaka were connected with Chittagong through Kasba.
Okay,
the railway line went.
Place, I think.
Very important place.
Right.
So our unit managed to liberate Kasba railway station area,
Okay.
even before I joined the unit. Then uh, we were given our unit was supposed to carry out an operation on, that was 23rd October. The objective was to liberate entire Kasba area.
Okay.
So we had a 23rd. It was just after I joined we joined the battalion. So we are not actually, myself didn't participate in that battle,
Okay.
but we are observing the battle. On the Indian side, there is a BSF uh, BSF outpost called Devipur. So that border area is called known as Kasba Devipur. So
Okay.
on the hilltop, if you are traveling by rail or by road uh, to Bangladesh, you can see the BSF outpost on the hill.
Right.
It's just about maybe 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers away from the railway station. So over there we had dug out trenches, and our sector commander Khalid Mosha was there. My unit commander Captain Ainuddin was by then they had all all been given promotion. So Khalid was a lieutenant colonel, Ainuddin was a major, and my unit adjutant was originally Lieutenant Harun. By that time, he became a Captain Harun. Then Lieutenant Aziz and myself, we were all watching from the hilltop. The operation was being carried out by under the command of Captain Ashraf.
Ashraf.
Then when he had become major, he was the second in command of the battalion, twice. But mainly, the JCOs were in actual command doing the operation. Captain Ashraf was guiding them. And the operation was highly successful. We recovered the entire land, Kasba area, right up to the CNB road,
Comilla
which
Brahmanbari
connects
Road.
to the Brahmanbaria road.
Okay.
So basically, the communication, Pakistan's communication was totally cut off between, say, northern part and the southern. That's what we did on 23rd October.
October. And I think
once it,
Lieutenant Colonel Khalid Musharraf was wounded as well in the head.
yes. We had another member of Parliament, MNA, a member of the National Assembly, retired Captain Sujat Ali. He was a British Army captain.
Okay.
Actually, his son is a very close friend of mine. He also lives in Ottawa, where I'm based. So Captain Sujat Ali was a politician there, a member of the National Assembly. He represented Bangladesh government to observe the operation.
Okay.
He and Khalid Musharraf and my CO were standing side by side in a trench, and I was about maybe 3-4 meters away from them in the same trench.
Okay.
The other observers were also in that trench. We had foreign correspondents, and we had the Indian brigadier who was in charge of that area. He was there, several other officers. And Pakistan Army had a very good artillery unit in that sector. In fact, it was commanded by a Bengali officer whose brother was my teacher at Fozard Cadet College. There was a Captain Zaman. He did not join Bangladesh Army. He served Pakistan Army. He started as a POW, went back to Pakistan, and he retired as a brigadier there. Okay. This guy, Bengali officer, fighting for Pakistan, he was commanding the artillery unit, and he was very effective in his shelling of the rebels and also shelling the Indian side. So as soon as our operation started, he started shelling from Manamati's Comilla side, and shells started landing on the hilltop. One of the shells landed in our trench. It was hardly maybe 2 meters away from Khalid Musharraf. Khalid Khalid got wounded in his head, in a splinters into his head, seriously injured, and the politician Captain Shujat Ali, he also got very badly injured in the stomach. His intestine and all started coming out. So Captain Ainuddin, myself, Aziz, as well as Harun, the four officers there, we carried these guys back. Ainuddin and myself, we are involved in carrying Khalid Moshab down from the hill towards the back where ambulances were there, prepared for this kind of contingencies. Then first we carried Khalid Moshab, then we carried down Captain Shujat Ali. But we are not sure that they would survive. Fortunately, they did survive, both of them. So for rest of the liberation war, they are not available. Khalid was not available. So as soon as Khalid was wounded, then Captain Saleh was already Saleh Chaudhry. He was then a major. He took over as the sector commander.
Okay.
So that was one operation just after I joined the liberation war.
Right.
And since that day, 23rd October, I was Lieutenant Aziz, and I was told that you go and live in liberated Bangladesh. So I was given command of 2 companies. Aziz was given command of 2 companies. You know, the regimental structure in the subcontinental army, you have 4, in an infantry regiment, you have 4 fighting companies and 1 headquarter company. The headquarter companies stayed back in India, and the fighting companies were placed in liberated Bangladesh. From 23rd October onwards, I always lived in liberated Bangladesh. Never went back to spend a night in India. So that's my pride. That
Right.
3 days after joining the unit, I could live in liberated Bangladesh.
Liberated Bangladesh.
And from that time onwards, we started having small skirmishes with the Pakistanis across the highway, was the district board road. On the other side, Pakistan army was placed. They had taken a position, and we had taken a position on this side. And around that, we tried to send a small contingent to ambush them. And they would send somebody to, some groups to hit us. So it continued like this, hit and run. And also on the highways also. We tried to. Now, just north of Kasba, there is a place called Chandrapur. These are inside Bangladesh. These are up to Kasba, it's plain land. But if you move a little bit further north and also further south, the region becomes hilly, small hillocks. So Chandrapur, Battamara, these are hilly places. And Pakistani army had set up very strong posts on those hills. Now, remember, the guerrilla war was going on while we were having battles with others. Guerrilla war was going on, and you see, the commissioning of the first war corps changed the game altogether. It gave the Bangladeshi forces an offensive capacity. Until then, as I said, for 3 months, we didn't carry out any attacks as such. We were basically doing guerrilla war. As soon as the first war corps was commissioned and they joined the various units, sectors, sub-sectors, we started having offensive actions.
Right.
So, but at the same time, the guerrilla war was going on. The infiltration of our guerrillas safely into Bangladesh, to various urban centers, rural areas, to various bases were going on. And number 2 sector was a major contributor to the guerrilla war. It was the main, because the regions under number 2 sector were Dhaka, part of Mymensingh, Comilla, part of Sylhet, Noakhali. So it was a vast region, and Dhaka being such an important place for war, all the guerrillas going to Dhaka had to go through number 2 sector.
Right.
And as I mentioned, the place Muntali, just Muntali, all the guerrillas would come to Muntali. From Muntali, we would provide them safe escort into Bangladesh. And that route went very close to this Chandrapur. And from
Okay.
Chandrapur, the hilltops, these Pakistani soldiers would disturb us. They'd fire at random, and sometimes the random fire would hit the boys, infiltrating.
Right.
So that had to be cleared. So it was decided. Also, by this time, I think the Indian government had taken the political decision to provide direct support to us. See, until then, until the 23rd October, I mentioned, until then we hadn't seen any direct Indian action.
Action.
India would provide us some support, armaments, training, everything, but no fire support.
Okay. Not even artillery support, sir.
Until then, no. But I think by October, the political decision had been taken that ultimately they would start providing the direct support. So artillery support was started being given. And already I think the Joint Command was not formed yet, but it was unofficial Joint Command by then.
Right.
So it was decided that on 22nd November, okay, all around Bangladesh, every sector, there will be coordinated action, coordinated attack on the Pakistani bases in the border areas. For example, 9 Bengal would take action in Comilla sector. 4 Bengal would go for actions in Noakhali district. They did some major actions and so on. 2nd Bengal in Sylhet. So 22nd November we were supposed to have coordinated action. Our job was to dislodge Pakistan army from those hilltops, Chandrapur,
Chandrapur.
so that the route for the guerrilla is absolutely clear and mass scale infiltration can take place. Now, what happened is it was supposed to be a joint operation. Indian troops will join us this time. So the political decision had already been taken.
Okay.
Now, 21st November was the Eid day.
Eid day. Right.
Ramadan had ended, and I think it was Eid. And you see, a lot of the soldiers, the ranks, ordinary soldiers in our units, 4, 9, and 10 East Bengal, were from Comilla side. They were originally from villages in Comilla. Kasba, there were some soldiers from the Kasba area. And for the Eid day, it was a mistake, of course, in hindsight. They were allowed to, our soldiers were allowed to, if they're from the neighboring villages, they were allowed to go and play with them, with their families and relatives. And some of them must have gone home and bragged to their families that we are going to liberate you guys. We have an operation coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
So there was an intelligence failure on our part. Pakistan already knew that we are going to operate. So they took up very strong defensive positions. When my CO, Major Ainuddin then, he got the news that there has been an intelligence failure on our part. So he postponed the operation. He said, no, we will not go on 22nd.
Okay.
Instead, we will defer the operation till the situation is, safe, reasonably safe for us. There's no more intelligence failure. Now, what happened is that the, the Indian brigadier whose brigade were attached to, you see, 9 is Bengal regiment. Each Bengal regiment unit was being attached to an Indian brigade. So the brigadier was a very ambitious guy. He said, no, we will have an operation. So on 23rd November, he forced us to have an operation despite objection by my commanding officer, because he's a Bengali, he knows exactly what's going on. But the Indian unit involved with us was most probably 19 Punjab.
19 Punjab, okay.
Most probably. I may be wrong because it's a long time back. I don't remember names and.
Punjab was a part of the 73 Mountain Brigade. It was in your area. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 2 companies of 19 Punjab and 2 companies of 9 Bengal would together do the operation. A senior major, I think it was the second in command of the 19 Punjab, who joined us.
Okay.
And from our side, it was Lieutenant Aziz who was to lead from the Bengal regiment troops. I volunteered because I wanted to be part of the battle, but my CO would not allow me because my CO was fearing the worst. He realized that there's an intelligence failure and the Pakistanis are fully prepared for the attack. Even if you defer the attack by 24 hours, it's still they're prepared. When I approached him, he said, I cannot afford to lose 2 officers. These were his words. I cannot afford to lose 2 officers in one operation. See, he apprehended that, it's going to be very bad operation. Then I told him, sir, my friend is a little shaky. I can feel that. So let me go instead of him. He said, no, you stay as a standby and we will need you. Let Aziz lead the operation. So the operation was launched on 23rd November. We managed to dislodge the Pakistani troops from the hilltops. But what had happened, as I said, is because of the intelligence failure, the Pakistani artillery had already earmarked those hilltops their own positions, so that once they evacuate, once they fall back, they could shell their own positions with 100% accuracy. Well, first of all, the operation was uphill. Pakistani soldiers were sitting on hilltops. All the machine guns were,
lined up there.
Fired onto the paddy ground through which our soldiers were running or crawling or going uphill. So we had a lot of casualties just to dislodge the Pakistani. And once we occupied the hilltop positions, the shelling started because they had already earmarked those places, calibrated the artillery guns. So that was very accurate shelling. We had a lot of casualties. In fact, at the end, I think we lost around maybe 20 plus dead and more than 20 died and 40-50 people injured. Similar numbers from 19 Punjab.
Okay.
And early in the morning, when we realized what is happening and we couldn't hold on to those positions for the time being, we had to withdraw. And then Lieutenant Harun, Captain Harun and myself, we were ordered to go up to those hills and carry back all those who were wounded or dead.
Okay. That must have been a very gruesome sight and very difficult.
Gruesome sight, yes. The paddy fields were littered with dead bodies and wounded people. I had to personally carry some soldiers who had lost their arms, some who had lost their legs, blown up. It was also mined. You see, the hilltops, you have defensive positions mined. If you know that it's going to be active on a certain side, you mine that side with anti-personnel mines. So a lot of the soldiers had lost their feet stepping over those mines. It was we succeeded in dislodging the Pakistani troops, but in terms of casualties, it was a disaster. Later on, we got the information that the Indian brigadier was, after the war, he was demoted and dismissed from the service.
Okay.
Because he did not take into account the intelligence failure, and he forced the people to carry out the operation.
Right.
I think that must be one of the major casualties on any Indian unit as well. 19 Punjab lost a lot of people, including the officers. The second in command who led the, he was killed. We lost one officer, and Indian or allies also lost. So that was possibly the most disastrous military operation. Okay, after that we were told to go to a place. Kasba remained liberated. Okay, Lattamura, Chandrapur, Pakistan army did not come back, but we also left it. By that time, it was, I think the High Command had already decided that they would go for more active intervention. So we were, 9 Bengal was suddenly told to withdraw and go towards a place called, go further south, towards a place called Bibi Bazar.
Bibi Bazar, okay.
Bibi Bazar. It's a part of Comilla, close to the border again. And we moved further south, and then on 3rd of December, as you know, Pakistan suddenly declared war, and then the Indian intervention became overt, not covert anymore.
Okay.
The Joint Command was officially formed, and as a part of the Joint Command, we were told to move and start holding a place called Suagaji. A place called Suagaji. It's on the Dhaka Chattogram road.
Okay.
So 9 Bengal basically held on to Suagaji, and from there we were told to move gradually towards Comilla. So Pakistan Army units had started withdrawing from the border area, because within the first 24 hours of 3rd December, they lost all the air power. The Pakistani Air Force was destroyed by the Indian Air Force. So they didn't have any more air support, so they started withdrawing to the fortified places. So they started with, for example, from the various sites, they were either moving towards Comilla, or in the south they're moving towards Chittagong, fighting on the way back. And we're also chasing them. From Suagaji, my unit, 9 Bengal, was chasing the Pakistani soldiers, and they're withdrawing bit by bit towards Comilla cantonment. By 8 December, we had liberated, with Indian help of course, liberated Comilla city. On 8th of December, we raised the flag, Bangladeshi flag on Comilla.
Okay.
Comilla city was liberated on 8th December, and then the High Command decided not to fight in Comilla anymore. Bypass Comilla. So Indian troops with us, the Indian brigade, Indian D, actually moved, bypassed Comilla and wanted to move towards Dhaka.
Okay.
And the job of 9 Bengal, you see, have you ever been to Comilla?
No, I haven't been to that side of Bangladesh. Like, I've just
Okay.
been up to Dhaka, and yeah. Just
Okay. In those days, Comilla town, now Comilla city, of course, big town, was separated from the cantonment by about 2 to 3 kilometers of rural land. And the Dhaka Chattogram highway went through Comilla city.
okay.
But the present highway bypasses the Comilla city at there are hilly places called Mainamati.
Mainamati. Okay.
And that's where the archaeological things are there. And Mainamati hills are also the also the place where the Pakistan Army's garrison was, the cantonment was there.
Right. Right.
So the Nine Bengal's job was to surround the cantonment and make sure that these Pakistani troops cannot come out anymore.
Okay.
Where Pakistani troops were more or less concentrated inside the cantonment on the hills, and we were surrounding them, holding them there, while the Indian troops did not stay in Comilla, they just moved on, leaving behind, I think, just a token force. They were moving towards, the idea was to approach Dhaka as quickly as possible from all sides.
Right.
So
Right.
from the eastern side, the Comilla side, they moved. From Mamin Singh side also they moved. From the Assam, from the east also, from Jaipur, and so on. So our job was to hold on to liberated Comilla and mop up, Pakistani forces, if there were any left anywhere.
Okay.
So after 8 December, the major battles were over. We had a few battles on the way to Comilla, but after liberating Comilla, the major battles were over. Small skirmishes would take place, and every now and then, some Pakistani soldiers would come over and surrender to us.
Okay.
I was already based there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a section, that means 10, 11 soldiers, a platoon, 30, 35 soldiers, they would come over and surrender. And we take them prisoners, and because we didn't have facilities, after initial interrogation, we would hand them over to the Indian forces.
Okay.
But we, being a part of the regular army, we had to treat them as POWs according to the convention.
Geneva Conventions.
We didn't want to. Sometimes we'd feel really bad because, villagers would report that some of these guys had been pillaging in the villages, raping women, and so on.
Right.
Being young people, we just feel like killing these bastards. But we couldn't do it. Our hands were tied by the convention. So we would offer them whatever facilities a prisoner of war has to do.
Right. And I think Pakistani soldiers felt it more comfortable to surrender to regular, what I can say, Bengal regiment troops compared to Mukti Bahini people, because they knew that
Oh
they
yeah,
were saved.
definitely.
Yeah.
But they preferred to surrender to India rather than to Bengal regiments.
That is also there, because Indian
They are
army
not
treated
100%.
them much better. That's what happened
Yeah,
in
because
history.
yeah. This is what they wanted. Then let's see. Yeah, we did have a few small skirmishes with the soldiers who were in the cantonment. Some of them would try to fight us. They had enough armaments, firepower, ammunitions left to continue resisting us for a long time. But their morality, they had completely lost their moral. They're totally disheartened. In fact, by the time, the 3rd December official war, Indo-Pak war started, they were already completely morally destroyed. They could not move freely around in Bangladesh. You see, river communications were cut. railway communications were cut. They're totally demoralized. But they had enough strength to stay in their strongholds, fortified places. They could have stayed on. But I think the Indian strategy was very good. Bypassing the strongholds without attacking the strongholds, trying to take over, that saved casualties,
Right. That
and
reduces the
also
number of casualties.
yes, yes. Uh, by then we were pretty sure that we have won the war, but we were worried about intervention by China and USA,
Right.
because that's what Pakistanis were hoping for.
Mhm.
And on 15th of December, okay, my CO gave me the order that, you see, right now there is a bypass road, that the highway from Dhaka to Chittagong.
Chittagong.
It bypasses Comilla city, and it bypasses the Comilla cantonment, present cantonment. Uh, just where the bypass goes through, there is a bazaar and hilltops. The cantonment is on the hilly side, and the main highway and the bazaar is on the flat land. So I was told that Pakistani soldiers, having taken a position on those hilltops, they were being a nuisance on troops moving towards Dhaka. From our communication, our joint command communication between Comilla and Dhaka, that was being disrupted by soldiers sitting on the hilltops. They would fire upon. So I was told that on 15th of December, take 2 companies, and on 16th of early morning of 16th December, carry out an attack to dislodge these Pakistani troops from those hilltops, so that our road communication is safe.
Okay.
So 15th December at night, with 2 companies of soldiers, I am there waiting for the early morning breakout of the day, and receive the command that attack. Okay. Fortunately, just before the attacking time, received the word that Pakistan army is most probably going to surrender in Dhaka. So the operation is cancelled. You don't have to do this. That was the last bit of good luck for me. In fact, all the soldiers also with me, because we all felt that at the fag end of the war, this operation might end up in a lot of us being dead. Because you're going to attack a position uphill. That's always more dangerous for the attacking force than for the
There is
defense.
always advantages for the enemy as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
The people in the defense have an advantage then.
Mhm.
So that was the last, potential danger for me. And once the next day was 16 December, and the Pakistan army decided to surrender.
Right.
So that's the end of war as far as I am concerned. And I wanted to get back to civilian life.
So you
And
didn't join the Bangladesh army, sir? You were a second.
no, I did.
So
Second lieutenant, I became a lieutenant.
lieutenant.
After a month or so, we were garrisoned in Comilla. Then in January, there was an incident in Mirpur in Dhaka. You see, Mirpur is the place where Rogers were settled. Mirpur was a major.
That place
He had been there. Okay. So in Mirpur, the Biharis had a very stronghold. Lot of hooligans used to live there. Lot of Pakistani soldiers also, who did not surrender, possibly took shelter there. So towards the end of January, Second Bengal Regiment, which was in Dhaka, was in charge of Mirpur, had sent some soldiers in there. Two of my friends, officers, were also there. There's a Lieutenant Salim, Lieutenant Jamil.
Your course mate, I guess.
They are my course mates, along with some other officers. They went to Mirpur in search of Johir Rahan's elder brother, who was also a very well-known intellectual.
Right.
Shahidullah Kaiser.
Right.
So it was rumored that Shahidullah Kaiser had been killed by the Bihari Gundas there, and his dead body was hidden there. So Johir Rahan, with the help of a police contingent and the Second Bengal Regiment soldiers, some officers and some soldiers, went in there in search of his brother, and they were ambushed and massacred. My course mate, Lieutenant Salim, died, several soldiers died, and Johir Rahan also died, and their dead bodies disappeared. See, Second Bengal got a lot of casualties. They had to withdraw, and as soon as this happened, 9 Bengal was immediately ordered to move to Dhaka. So we moved to Dhaka, and we took a position in Mirpur. So I was still in the army for another 10 months.
Okay.
So
you took part in that
I
operation?
did.
Okay.
No, I took part in the operation. For the pacification of Mirpur. Mirpur was divided. By this time, we had almost a brigade of Bengal regiment in Dhaka. So Mirpur is divided into several subsectors, and 9 Bengal was given in charge of the most notorious part of Mirpur. Mirpur section 11, 10, and 12. So I was in Mirpur for almost 3 months.
3 months, okay.
And we used to stay in the MP hostel in the second capital, the parliament, because that was not operating. We just stayed there. Then also we stayed in the Dhaka camp. We had provided accommodation there. Then 3 months later, again there was an order that we have to move to Jessore. 9 Bengal has been posted to Jessore. By this time, Mirpur was pacified.
Okay.
We went to Jessore. We settled down to regular military life, regular, you do the PT, parade, drills, and all those regular stuff. A bit of firing exercise, then go on winter exercise, those kind of stuff. Have games, everything. Then again, 9 Bengal is ordered to move to Sundarban.
Okay.
By this time, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Bangabandhu is back, and he was giving this order. The reason is that Sundarban had a lot of Naxalites.
Right.
A lot of Naxalites had taken shelter in Sundarban. They had a lot of hidden arms caches, and they're disrupting life around Sundarban.
And this
Lot
was
of dacoities.
Siraj Sikdar, I guess, or somebody else.
Siraj Sikdar's people were also there. Jashore, basically Jashore. Yes.
Okay.
So we were given one naval gunboat to help us, and we requisitioned several steamboats, launches, and we moved into. There is a place called Bagherhat in Khulna,
Okay.
the southern side of
it. Bagheera, Khulna.
Just after Bagherhat, you start having the Sundarban. So our battalion headquarters was in Bagherhat, and all the companies were moved further south. I was in a place called Moralganj. There's a Pune called Moralganj. It's inside Super.
Okay.
It's periphery of Super. So I was stationed there, and every now and then I would go with these boats into the Sundarban, looking for these miscreants, looking for arms depots, and so on. Also, we were given charge of anti-smuggling operations along the border areas. Because in those days, a lot of smuggling was taking place. I started submitting my first resignation letter the day we liberated Comilla, but it was never accepted.
Okay.
I submitted my second resignation letter in Dhaka.
So by now you were a captain, sir, or lieutenant?
If I had continued service one more month, I would have been a captain.
Okay.
My resignation was accepted at the end of 1972. By that time, I was very desperate to leave the army because I was losing time. My academic life.
Get back to civilian life, right, sir?
Basically, yes.
And
See, plus my parents were already in UK at that time.
Okay.
My parents were in London, so I wanted to leave the army, join my family.
Right, sir. Okay. And after that, you became a student back again, or?
I became a student back, but by this time in Dhaka University,
Okay.
my contemporaries who had attended classes regularly were doing fine. I did not. I had missed those classes. I was in liberation ward and another year in service. So I realized that I would not get a good degree. I was in the economics department, which was highly competitive, the most competitive. So, and also because my parents were already in UK, they arranged for my tickets, visa, everything. So I decided to leave. I went to England. I did my A levels again because because of the delay, the intermediate, the higher secondary was no longer recognized by top British universities.
Okay.
I could get into a lower grade university, but I wanted to get into a top one. So I did my A levels in next 6 months. Then I got into a place known as Imperial College. It's one of the Imperial. It is, I think, after Oxford and Cambridge, Imperial is considered the third top institution
in the UK. Yeah.
And world ranking, it's always within the first 10, along with Cambridge and Oxford. So it was the top place, and I managed to get in there. I got my bachelor's, master's, and PhD all from the same department there. And then I came to India. Would you believe it? See, during the Liberation War, I did not have the opportunity to explore India. So I thought I'll spend some years in India and visit places I wanted to do. So I came to Indian Statistical Institute.
Okay.
I wrote to the director, John Babu, J.K. Ghosh. So I used to live in the campus, in the guest house. I had a 2-room sort of small apartment without the cooking facilities. I used to eat in the guest house downstairs and live upstairs. So I spent 2 years at Indian Statistical Institute as a faculty in the Stat Math division, the core division.
Okay.
2 of my best years of my life. I met some very good friends. I enjoyed the cultural life of Calcutta. The winter, every winter, almost every night I attend those open air concerts, classical concerts.
Right. Those things used to happen back then.
Yeah.
So you have been
After which I went
mostly all your life.
Yeah, also yes. And I continued going back to India until recent years. Now I still have very good friends. Colleagues, with whom I still do research.
Have you been invited
Some of
to
my
the Eastern Command, as a Mukti Bahini delegation?
There was one invitation a couple of years back. in which some of my friends went. Some went last year also. But because I haven't lived in Dhaka, I'm not. Maybe when I retire, I will attend one of those. The Eastern Command, I think, every year invites a few people. And normally, my friend Motin Chaudhary coordinates this from Bangladesh side. In fact, there was I think 2 times their invitation to Murtee.
Right.
The command had asked, yes,
Right.
visits by these first workers officers and their families to Murtee.
Right.
I think there have been 2 such trips, but because I am abroad, I have never been able to
Okay.
take part.
It has been a career mostly starting from the military, fighting for your own country, and then shifting back to academics. That is
Yeah.
that is what I can say is very different, but again exceptional
Very
compared
different.
to most of the
Yeah.
people who joined Murtee.
Now, I think just 3 of us left the army on our own will. The Sheikh Kamal was another because his father was the prime minister, so he could leave army immediately after liberation. In my case, again, I had to. I could not resign through the proper channel. I had to go up to General Osmani. Even General Osmani would not allow me to leave the army, so I had to go up to Sheikh Mujib and tell him that, sir, I went with my aunt and I told him that, sir, you have allowed your son to get back to civilian life. Why isn't the army allowing me to? I want to get back to my studies.
Right.
That's how I got released. There was another guy, again, his sector commander was considered. There was a Lieutenant Colonel Nurul Zaman who commanded North Bengal. I think that's number 11 sector or 9 sector, I'm not sure. The sector number I'm not sure, but Lieutenant Colonel Nurul Zaman who commanded that sector. And in that sector, there were some of my friends. One of them was Lieutenant Kaisar Hawk.
Kasba. Okay.
Yeah, he got the release. Kaisar, Kamal, and myself. We are the 3 people who resigned commission voluntarily. Kaisar is in academy. Kaisar left the army. He was in the English department, so he pursued his studies. He became a professor of English. He is a very well-known author, a poet, and a researcher, English literature.
Okay.
And there's another person. I'll just mention his name. There's the Major Qayyum Khan.
He was
Major Qayyum Khan.
he was with Captain
Yeah.
Jahangir, I guess. Mohiuddin Jahangir.
He was with Captain Mohiuddin Jahangir. Yes, served under him, and so actually when Jahangir died, Qayyum was there. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Anything else right now?
No, it has
But
been
feel
a
free
wonderful
to-
experience talking to you, sir.
Well, same here. Thank you for interviewing me.